joining me. In this video, we're going to make 4 mini boards that are going to fit on our InDesign template document that we've made. We're working on the trend research and analysis board, and we're going to make 4 mini boards that are going to fit in these frames that we've made. So we've got one here, one here, one here, and one here. And you can see we've got titles, inspiration, materials, silhouettes, and fastenings and details. I'm going to click on one of these frames. Now they're all the same size. So I just need to look up here while I've got this frame selected to see what the dimensions of this frame are. This is 66.25 millimeters by 93. Okay, so as long as I've got a little note of that, I can pop into Photoshop and make a new document. So I'm going to Photoshop, File, and New, and I'm going to make a new document. So my dimensions are 66.2 millimeters, and the height is 93 millimeters. Now, please make sure that you're measuring in millimeters and you're not measuring in centimeters, because otherwise you're going to create a very large file indeed. My orientation is portrait, and I'm using 300 pixels per inch. Please make sure that you're working in pixels per inch and not pixels per centimeter. If you're using pixels per centimeter, 300 pixels per centimeter will create a huge file. Leave the color mode as RGB color, and if you need to, change this to 8-bit, okay, so we don't make an unnecessarily large image. The background color is going to be white, and we're working with a color profile that is RGB. You can either use the sRGB profile, or if you prefer, you can swap and change to the Adobe RGB 1978 profile. Best just to leave it as it is. Pixel aspect ratio, you need square pixels. So once you're happy with that, we click Create. Now remember, your page is not going to be exactly the same as mine. You have to take those measurements from your own InDesign template. So I've now got this little document, and it is small. We're looking at this at 100%, so that's exactly how big it is. And if I go to View and go to Guides, I can create a new guide layout. Okay, so you can see I've already set this, this out. I've got 4 columns. Now, again, it's entirely up to you what you do with yours. And I've got 6 rows. And it's defaulting to inches at the moment. So my gutter is about 3 millimeters, and it's converted it. So 3 mm and 3 mm, just so as you can see, and my margins are set to 5 millimeters. Okay, so this is how I want my grid set up. Even though this is a tiny little image, I still have this grid, and once you've set it up, you'll find that you don't have to bother doing it for number 2, number 3, and number 4. It will already be done for you. So this one is going to be my inspiration image. So I'm going to go to File and Place Embedded. And I'm going to use some inspiration images. So I've got one called Lavender Matrix. So I'm going to open this up, and I'm going to place it on my document. And you can see, if you have a look at the layers panel over here, you can see it's come in with its name. Now that's because of how I've brought it into the document. I've gone to File and Place Embedded. So it's remembered the document's file. Now that saves you a little bit of work. If you open documents, copy and paste them, they'll all just be called Layer 1, Layer 2, Layer 3. So this is a nice way of working, in as much as we don't have to then rename these layers. So I've just stretched that out because it's come in, it's a smart object, and I can just scale this till I'm happy. I might want it even bigger or smaller. Okay, so I'm going to go with that, I think. And then I can either just double click here on the image, or I can click the tick up here. Okay, now if we just take a little look at our layers panel, you can see we have this icon in the corner, and that's telling us that it's a smart object. Okay, there we go, it's a smart object thumbnail. And that means that we can scale this and change its dimensions without damaging the original document. Okay, so it means that we're not throwing pixels away unnecessarily. Okay, so I'm going to go and find my next image. So once again, I'm going to go to File and Place Embedded. And I've got a nice little anime image, little lavender anime. So I'm going to just place that on my page. And oops, if you're a little bit like me and prone to moving your guides, you might want to lock them in place. I'm just going to undo what I've done. There we go. I'll bring those in again. Apologies for that. Okay, I'm just going to lock those guides before I do anything else. So I'm going to the View menu and Guides, and I'm going to choose Lock Guides. And then I'm going to Place Embedded and get my little anime picture back. There we are. And again, I can scale this. I will put this wherever I want it. I think I'm going to pop it up here. I might just scale it slightly. I can change that later if I want to. Now, I've got this very hard edge here and up here, and the two images don't interact at all. I've just got one thing plonked on top of the other. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the blend mode for this image. Okay, so here I am over on the layers panel, and you can see I've got the lavender anime layer selected, and then I can go where it says normal just here. If I open this up, these are all different layer modes. Okay, so they interact with other layers in different ways, depending on whether the layer is dark or light. You will get different things happening. So I can't give you a hard and fast rule of which one to choose. The best thing to do is just scroll through them until you find an effect that you like. So I'm quite liking both of these at the moment. I think the screen one is a little bit over the top, so I might just go for lighten. Okay, so you can see that matrix image kind of coming through in the darker areas. Okay, some of these are a bit over the top. That's quite nice. It's very similar to lighten. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with lighten. Then I need to just get rid of this hard line that we've got. And I want to do this kind of softly, but I don't want to damage the image, because I could still change my mind about this. Is that I'm right in the early days of putting this little image together, or this collage together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add something called a layer mask to this layer, to this image. And if I click down here, you can see it's now given me this little thing here. This is the layer mask. When it's white, it's revealing pixels, okay? When it's black, it's concealing pixels. So if I were to paint with my foreground color, which is currently set to black, using this tool here, this is the brush tool, and you can see that the keyboard shortcut is just the letter B, okay? And if I make my brush bigger or smaller, I can do that using the parentheses keys. They're the ones next to the letter P on your keyboard. And I can just brush these away. I'm going to just choose a bigger brush and just go in softer. Okay, and if I overdo it, say like this, I can just switch the colors around here, and I can do that just by hitting X on my keyboard, so the letter X, and then I can bring those images, those pixels back, so I can just brush these back. This is what I mean by non-destructive editing, okay? So we can just softly bring some of that detail back. Okay, so I might leave it at that. I might come back to it. I've no idea at this stage. So I'm just going to go and look for another image. So I'm going to place embedded again. And I'm going to have a little look through what I've found. Okay, yeah, this is one of my inspiration images. So again, I might want to scale that down. I might want to treat this in much the same way. So I'm going to have a look at the blend modes. Yeah, I'm just getting some of that matrix coming through. Yeah, quite like that. So this time I've gone for screen because I want a little bit more of that matrix coming in. And again, I'm going to go and add a blend mode. So you'll find what I'm doing is quite repetitious. I'm using the same techniques over and over. Just need to hit X to paint with black to get rid of that harsh line. Okay, so I'm okay with that. Now, this particular trend is based on a Pantone color, which is called Digital Lavender. So that would be a good thing to put on this little collage. So I'm going to go to Place Embedded, and I'm going to look for the swatch. So here's my digital swatch. Now it's just basically a color, so I could put this anywhere I like. So I'm going to pop it up here. And then I'm going to just use this tool here. This is the rectangular marquee tool, and I'm just going to draw a little, using my guides to help me. I'm going to just draw out. Don't know if that's going to work for me. Now it doesn't matter, so I'll do it anyway. So I'm going to just make this little marqueed area where you can see the marching ants. I've got that selected on the layer. Okay, so I've got the digital lavender color swatch layer selected, and then I add this layer mask, and you can see that it cuts it. Okay, so that's different ways of using layer masks. I've made layer masks and brushed into them, and I've changed the layer mask on this just by making a marquee and adding a layer mask. Okay, and it'll just crop it. Now I can change my mind entirely about that, so I can throw this away. Okay, so I just go to the bin, and there it is gone. And then I might decide I'm going to change this, so I'm going to scale it. I'm using Control T, like so. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a longer and thinner. So I'm still using the guides, look, and I'm going to add my layer mask. Okay, now I know what the Pantone reference is for this. It's Pantone 263. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type the word Pantone 263. So I've just got the type tool, and I'm going to type Pantone 263. Now I was going to show you about finding a font that would suit. Now I've gone for a kind of digital look for this. So this is a typeface called Ethnocentric from the Pantone Fonts library. I'm just going to rotate this round. So I'm going to go to Edit and Transform, and I'm going to rotate 90 degrees clockwise, like so. And then I can put this where I want it. So I'm going to put it there. Now, because this has come in and it's already a typeface that I rather like, I'm just going to change it just for devilment, really. Oops. So instead of using Ethnocentric, I'm going to have a look at my Adobe Fonts and see if I've got anything open that would work for me. Well, there's this one. Now, the problem with this one is this is BD Gemini's, and it's quite hard to read. So I don't think I'll go with that, but I do still want to keep that kind of digital look. There's one down here called Uni Wars, which I rather like. Or there's this one here called Moby. Okay, any of those would work for me. And if I can't see what I want, I can just go to the Adobe Fonts library and find something else. But I'm going to stick with this Moby. I think that'll work for me. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. It's currently 10 points. Now remember, it is quite a small document, so I don't want it to be massive, but I also need it to be legible. Okay, so I'm going to select this. It's currently black. I don't want it to be black, but I could do with it being a kind of nice dark purple. So what I'm going to do, you'll notice when I go to my color picker, when I go onto the image, I have this color dropper, okay, this little eyedropper. So I can click somewhere on the image and select a color, okay. I quite like this. This will work. So I'm going to click OK, and now my text is in that color. Okay, so I'm going to look for some more inspirational images. So let's see what I've got. I'm going to go to File and Place, and just going to have a little look through. Okay. Okay, I could make this really quite big because I want to see the texture more than anything. And then just see what happens. Okay, I think I'm going to go with screen. And it looks awful at the moment, but I don't want it all over here. So I'm just going to add a layer mask, and I'm just going to brush most of this away. So a nice big brush to get rid of the majority of it. So I'm just going to brush that away. So I've got this kind of textured corner like so. Make my brush a bit smaller, get rid of that on my swatch. Now, what I could do is I could move the color swatch up so it sits on top. So you can relayer things, move your layers around. So my digital lavender color swatch is now sat on top of this texture. If I wanted to brush this back in, and I'm just, oops, daisy, that's a bit rough. Okay, So that might be it. That might be all I've got. I need my Pantone words to sit up here. There we go. Um, I need this colour swatch to stand off from the background a little bit. It's very, very flat at the moment. I'm just going to hide my guides. It's exactly the same as in InDesign. So we use Control or Command and the colon key to hide the guides. And what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to add a little drop shadow onto my colour swatch. So you can either go here where it says FX, or you can go up to the layer menu and choose layer style, wherever it is, there it is. And all the same things that appear in this list here on this menu appear if I click the effects button down here, bevel and emboss, drop shadow, all that kind of thing. Alternatively, and this is my preferred way of working, is to just double click on this little bit of real estate at the end of my layer name, and it will automatically open up the layer style dialog. I'm going to add a drop shadow. Don't be tempted to click in these little boxes. Just click on the name, okay? And it will select the whole thing. If you don't do that, if I just deselect and then just click in one of these boxes, say for stroke, you'll notice it still says drop shadow here. You actually have to click the name for it to change here. So we don't want a stroke at all. I'm going to go for drop shadow, and we've just got this little shadow here, so it just lifts it up slightly, and that looks a little bit more pleasant. And I'm going to click OK, and then I'm going to add the same thing, a little drop shadow to my text as well. I need that to be quite tiny because the text is quite fine, and you're in danger of not being able to read it if your shadows are too big. Okay, so I think I'm okay with that. You can add more stuff if you want to, but that's going to do for my my image. I'm just going to choose save, and I'm going to save this on my computer. You can also save on the cloud. So here you can see it says save to Creative Cloud. I'm going to save on my computer, and I'm going to give it a name, and I'm going to call it Inspiration Lavender. And I'm just going to save it in there. Now, when we go to make the next one, when I go to File and Open, actually not File and Open at all, is it? It's File and New, beg your pardon. All the dimensions for this document are already there, so I don't need to do anything else. I just click Create, and I've got an identical document. Then I go to View, go to Guides, and New Guide Layout, and my guides are all there as well. Okay, so once you've done those things, you don't have to do them again. This next one is Materials, so I'm going to take a slightly different approach with this. I'm going to go to File and Place Embedded, and I'm going to look for anything that's fabric related. So I've got this piece of crepe. Okay, and I could put that in here. I'm going to make it a bit smaller. All right, and I'm going to use the Marquee tool and my guides to help me. So I'm going to put a little marquee over here, and once again I'm going to use my layer mask. Okay, so you can see how that's sitting, and then I'm going to do the same again and place embedded. Okay, and again make it a bit smaller, put it here. And again, use the marquee tool, and using my guides, I'm going to make this marquee and then add a layer mask. Okay, so I'm just going to carry on. So once you get into this kind of rhythm, You'll find these boards coming together really quite quickly. I've got this faux fur. And it might be that I want to create a slightly bigger image. Okay, and another one. And again, I'm using the Marquee tool and I'm just going to select that. Oh, I like this one. I think I'll put it here, I think. And then make my marquee like so. There we go. And I've got room for another one there. So file, place embedded again. Okay, and this is a kind of velvet. I'll go with that. And if I hide my guides, this is what we've got for materials. So it's much less ad hoc to the inspiration image, okay? But I've used exactly the same techniques, okay? So I'm just using layer masks, okay? Sometimes you'll brush them away with a brush. Sometimes you will make them using selections, okay? So I'm just going to save this. I'm going to call it Materials Lavender. Oh, I'm going to save it on the computer, not. So save on your computer, Materials Lavender, and it's going in here. Okay, and then on to the third one. So File and New. Okay, so now you're getting it. We've got nothing to do. All this is sorted for us. And this one is going to be silhouettes. So this is anything to do with like catwalk silhouettes, the shapes of the garments. So let's see what I can find. So again, place embedded. I'll start with this one. This time I'm going to use a slightly different tool. I want to cut this, this chap out from the background. And I'm going to use this tool here. This is the Object Selection tool. Keyboard shortcut is W. And I'm just going to drag over this shape. And Photoshop's just going to make a quick little cutout. Not sure what's going on with his bag there. I'm just going to add into that selection. Okay, oh, it's a bit more. Okay, we've just cut that away. Right, okay, so I'm more or less happy with that, but I'm going to make the layer mask in exactly the same way. I've got this selection, and all I have to do is click the Add Layer Mask, and there we have it. And then I can size that down a little bit. So I'm using Control or Command T for transform. It's the best way of remembering it. I'm just going to pop him down there in his little jumper. And then I'm going to go to File and Place Embedded and find another image. So we've got this nice catwalk dress. So I'm going to bring this in. And again, same tool, I'm going to just cut this out. Okay, just have a quick look at it to make sure it's okay, and it is. And once again, I could scale this down. Now I could, if this was a bigger trend board, I could have an image as a hero image, but we really don't have enough space on these tiny little images for that. So I'm going to make this a bit smaller. Okay, so I'm not selling myself too short. And then let's see what else I've got. Oh, I like this jumpsuit. Okay, so once again, click the tick, and then using the same tool, the object selection tool, we're just going to whiz it across the whole image and let the tool cut her out. And again, we're going to add a layer mask. Okay, and then we can pick her up, Control T. Don't forget to lock your guides if you need to. I'm playing with fire a little bit. I haven't. So I'm just going to have her stood almost on the bottom. Let's make her a little bit smaller. Using my cursor keys just to nudge that image up a little. And when I'm happy with that, I can just double click it. Okay, and let's see what else I've got. Now, because this image has no legs, well, you know what I mean, I'm going to need to have her sort of down at the bottom here, a bit like this chap, because they look weird. If you stick them up here, and then they just end, it looks really odd. So I might put her here. Now, don't be afraid to have some images bleeding off. I'm just going to scale this down slightly. I might make a bit more proportionate with the jumper guy. All right. And let's see what else we've got. I quite like this, so let's have this. Now, you don't always have to cut these out. You can just leave them on their backgrounds if you prefer, and you can treat it a little bit more like we did with the materials board. There's no real rules. Okay, again, she's got no feet, so I'm going to have a little party down the bottom of the board here. Okay, I'm going to have her in the middle, a little bit bigger. And then I'm going to move some of these other images around. Now you need to make sure you're using the move tool. So I'm going to put her about here, but she needs to go behind jumper boy. So there we are. So remember, you can move your layers around, and the catwalk dress is going to come here. I'm going to pop her a little bit further down as well, so she's sat behind. Okay, and then let's see what else I can find. Yeah, I like this. Now I'm going to make this, because we've got this rather nice kind of sand colour, I'm going to take this all the way down to the bottom, so she's going to be at the back. Now, even though she's at the back, she's kind of become the hero image because she's so much bigger than the others. Now, I like that. I don't like it when all the images are all the same size, because I think there should be a hierarchy of images. If everything's the same size, you really don't know what to look at first. So this just helps people read the page or read the image a little bit easier. So I'm just going to make that even bigger. Okay, now less is more. I'm not going to put any more on there. Don't forget, we're working in a very small space. If you start putting too much on, the images become so small you can't even see what they are anyway. So it's a kind of waste of time. So you could put maybe one or two others in there, but I think this has kind of got some balance to it. So I'm going to go to File and choose Save. And I want to save on my computer. And I'm going to call it Silhouettes Lavender. Okay, and then finally, another new one, Create Guides Happen, just like that. And then this one is going to be my fastenings and details. So let's see what I've got. Okay, I like this bracelet. Again, I'm going to cut this out. Now, this is a little bit tricky because you can see the cutout, the marquee, has cut the middle of this with it, okay? And I want to lose that, so I'm going to switch the tool here. Now you can see this would add in, and this is going to subtract the piece in the middle. So I'm just going to select that, okay? And now we've selected that middle piece or deselected that middle piece. And when I make my layer mask, we've actually cut that out. Okay, it's hard to see at the moment, but we have. So let's add in some other stuff. I'm just going to make this a bit smaller because it's rather huge at the moment. I think it can go there for now. Go to File and Place Embedded. And I've got an umbrella. I know it's not a fastening, but it is kind of detaily. And I could rotate this if I wanted to. So I kind of like it upright like this. And again, I'm going to chop it out. Okay, now I've got no image as a background at the moment, so a lot of these things are a little bit lost. Should an umbrella be up here, do you think? Oh, we'll leave it there for now. Let's see what happens. So I'm going to go to File and Place, and ooh, I don't like those nails. Right, that should have gone on my silhouettes. I think I might put that on the silhouettes in a minute. I've got this lipstick, I don't want this piece, I just want this bit. So I'm just going to select over this part of the image and make a layer mask. I'm going to leave it quite big, but I'm going to pop it down here because I don't need to see the whole thing. I'm just interested in this bit where it says Gucci and we've got this kind of lavender colour. I want it to kind of sit in that space there. Okay, so place embedded. Okay, so I want to cut this out. So I want the shoe and the leg, really. Perfect. And again, this is kind of coming from the top, so this image needs to sit here. It's also too big, so I'm just going to shrink it down so it can sit there, kind of going across two of the columns. I'm going to move the umbrella, so I've selected the layer. I'm picking that umbrella up. I think I'll send that behind the bracelet. Oh, that looks weird. No. Okay, so this looks strange now going over the umbrella, but we'll deal with that in a moment. I'm just going to get all my images on the page before I start doing anything else with it. So I've got this makeup. I don't like the lid of this. I think it looks cheap, so I'm just going to push that. Just take it down in size. And again, that umbrella is going to be a problem. I don't know where I'm going to put it. Okay, go there. Okay, like Balenciaga shoe. Cut that out and scale it. It's a bit big. And again, you can rotate these things if you want to. I'm going to have that in front of that makeup, so I'm just going to push that up there like that. Okay, I'm going to have to do it. Okay, so I've got these nails in the background. I'm going to just push this over so you can. I've almost obliterated them. I'm not sure I like that, but it'll do for now. And then I'm going to just go and I'm going to add a drop shadow to my umbrella. And then rather than go and add this shadow over and over, what I can do is I can hold down my Option key or my Alt key and just drag this and drop it on each layer where I want it to go. So I'm going to put it on the Balenciaga shoe, I'm going to put it on the Gucci lipstick, I'm going to see what else I've got, the Reebok. Okay, and lastly, the bracelet. So I'm literally just dragging and dropping that into place. Okay, so now I've added those shadows and it just pulls it off the background a little. I think that's really helped it. I don't care that I can't really tell what that image is in the background. In fact, so much so, I'm just going to reduce the opacity so it's not so there. Okay, so I'm just taking the opacity of that layer down a little so the other images stand off. You could add more, of course, but this is just a demonstration. So now I'm just going to go to File and Save. I'm going to save on my computer again, and I'm going to call it Details Lavender. And save. And then all that remains is for us to go back into InDesign, and I'm going to select, so I'm going to go to File and Place, and find those images. There they are. So I've got silhouettes, materials. So I'm going to select that one and that one. That'll do for now. And I'm going to put materials in there and silhouettes in there, and I have to go and look for my inspiration. Oh, I think that was a better one. I'm going to bring that one in. So that was my inspiration. Oops, be careful of that. And then lastly, my fastenings and detail. So I called it details, didn't I? So place. There we go. And that's it. Done. Obviously, this would need to be changed because this is now digital lavender, but you get the general idea. I hope that helps, and I'll see you in the next session.